Next up, Stan.
What I'm going to tell you is a love story. But it's not the usual kind of love story. It's a very different kind. And I told part of it at another place a few days ago, but this one's going to be a little different from the one I told at the other place. Because it goes back to 1956, which was the day I walked into a brand new college, which was then called Staten Island Community College. And I continued there until the name was changed to the College of Staten Island, where it became a four-year college. And also I continued on until 1995, when I retired because they decided to abolish my curriculum due to a budget crisis, and they decided that my curriculum was expendable. Happened to be in the field of technology. And it was the Department of Engineering Technology, and they decided to wipe it out, or at least a couple of the curricula in that department. Well, I decided to retire at that point, and I taught for one more year as an adjunct, and then I decided to devote myself to poetry readings and stuff. But in the 39 years when I was working there, some amazing things happened. When I first started to teach, it was a lily white place. I think I had one black student there over a period of several years. And little by little, we got a few more. But when the first president of the college left, a new guy came in. He says, we got to do something about this. And we went around to places where we could talk about what the college was. And we went to places where there were black young people, and they came in to listen to us. And after a while, we had a substantial black student body, but not tremendously. And then open admissions came along, and things really started to get better because we started getting more students, Latino as well as black, and poor white students who came from the privileged areas. But some people never realized the importance of what was going on. They didn't understand that besides providing education for these people, they were also providing a way that people could learn to get along with each other, even though they were of different ethnicities. And I became very alert, very involved to this kind of idea. Besides being an engineer, I have a degree in sociology, and I put them together in a course called Technology and Society. And all kinds of things happened in that kind of class, because we could get into a lot of different topics. For example, the subject of technology and racism. And that always raised a stir. And I'm going to give you one incident, which I thought was a very powerful incident, in my opinion. The subject was, that day, technology and racism. And a young man, name I still remember after many years, Boniface Harper, a young man from the island of Jamaica, a black young man, he started screaming at the top of his lungs. I didn't understand what he was screaming about. Pedro, who was about 40 years old, a senior member after me, came walking over to me and says, see Mike over there? It was Mike. He had an Irish name and maybe an Irish temper, at least in the opinion of certain people. I said, yeah, what about Mike? He says if Harper doesn't stop screaming, he's going to go over there and bash him. I said, you go back there and calm Mike down, because if anybody's going to do any bashing around here, it's going to be me. Now you just calm him down, and I'll take care of Harper. Another student came out and said, how long are you going to let him scream? He's going on. I says, I'm going to wait till he gets tired of screaming, and then I'm going to ask him why he's screaming about it. There's no way of stopping him now. Well, Harper finally stopped screaming. I said, Harper, are you done screaming? He said, yes. I said, can you please tell me what you were screaming about? I'd like to know. He said, yes, I was, well, he wasn't too inclined to tell me, so somebody else said, he was screaming that white people are devils. I said, Harper, is that what you think? White people are devils? Why do you think that? He says, because my cousin was drafted into the army and was sent to Vietnam, and he died of wounds that he got while he was in combat. that's why white people are devils. I said, well, how did this episode in Vietnam make white people devils? I said, well, they conscripted the blacks to send them over there to get killed. That was genocide. I said, you believe that they actually conscripted these blacks? They took them into the army for the purpose of getting them killed? That this was a plan? I don't believe that. Well, he looked very upset when I said that. I said, what I do believe, Harper, is this, that many young black men enlisted in the army because they had nothing else to do. They were out of work, and the army was a place where they could get some sustenance and a place to sleep. And if you're looking for racism, I would say that is the place to look. That these young men enlisted because racism prevented them from getting jobs, because that was a common condition at that time. And to that extent, I will agree with you, but not to the other point. Well, at that point, Harper seemed happy. He calmed down entirely. Not only did he calm down, but he started paying more attention in class, and every once in a while he put his head down on the desk and he was looking like he was asleep. And somebody came walking into the class and bumped into his chair one day. I said, shh, you'll wake Harper. Whereupon Harper opened up one eye and he said, I hear every word that's going on. I said, okay, well, please see me after class, because I wanted to talk to you about something. It's nothing serious, but see me anyhow. Oh, after class ended, I asked him, why do you lie down with your head on the desk even though you're listening? I said, look, Professor, it's the only way I can stay with what's in the class. I work a full-time job besides going to college full-time. Why do you do this, Harper? He says, I have to support a wife and child. I can't do that just by coming to school. Well, why don't you take your courses part-time then? He says, I have a limited time in which to get this degree, and then I have to go back to my country. I said, Harper, you can keep your head on the desk anytime you want. It's okay. Everything's fine. Well, after that point, he insisted on sitting up instead of putting his head on the desk. He had to show me that he could stay awake anyhow. He would sit there and I looked like he was going to fall over. That guy did a fine job in that course. I gave him a B+. He would have gotten an A, but his English was a little lacking when he wrote his term paper, so brought him down a little bit. After he was done with my class, one day I saw him and I was talking to a student and he happened to come by. And I said to the student, I want you to meet a friend of mine, Boniface Harper. And Harper said, you remembered my first name. He was so touched by that. I'll never forget that young man as long as I live. I hope someday I'll find him again so I can find out how he's doing. That's part of that love story. Thank you very much.